Humpday, happy hour hangout. Humpday, happy hour hangout. Let's get drunk at the director's garage.
Oh, man. I just can't get enough of those things, man. I just love them. They're just so fun. Hey, how are you doing, everybody? The Atrium, ZMF Atrium. Happy Humpday Happy Hour Hangout here at the Director's Garage. Welcome, everybody. I am your resident idiot, Michael, and well, we're on for another week or so. You know, we're down for another count. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Let's see. What do we have this week? Well, we're going to be doing some stuff today. We've got a viewer system, which is kind of cool. I'm going to talk about my Grievances and Grammys. That's the title of this little live stream. We're going to be talking about some things I've seen in the last week that just I want to just say something about. I got some stuff to say. So we're going to do a viewer system. Our viewer Gene was kind enough to send us his entire rack, his entire setup. Very cool looking thing. That's kind of it. What do we had going on around here? Well, we had some trees cut. So the Director's Garage has a wonderful view of the valley right now because the trees have been thinned out. I can actually see. I usually just get a wall of trees out there, and I've got a real view today. But it is soggy. It's a soggy one here in LA today. So everything's wetted down and smelling like burnt house. It's too much fun. It's too much fun. We're having a good time. I did start the next Director's Garage episode. It's actually shot. It's in the can. It's not edited yet. I'm in the middle of editing it, but there will be an episode coming very shortly now because now it's in production. Now we got something to go by. I'm looking forward to getting that out to you guys. I know it's been a minute. I know we've been through some struggles, but that's the way it is. Put your comments in the chat, and if you have your own viewer system to send in or anything else, you can send it to directorsgarage@gmail.com, directorsgarage@gmail.com. And it's also been a production week for me because I spent the last week and a half doing my own demo reel, and that's just a compilation of some of the best stuff I've done. And you put it into a little 4-minute package, and you can send it off to potential employers as a way to say, hey, this is. They get a look at what your work is, what your history is. So that's kind of cool. That was a huge project because I've been in the business for 40 years. So what do you include? What do you leave out? What do you what are you going to focus on? All of that stuff. You got to make it look good. I have a folder with 13 terabytes of footage in it. That's how much I pulled to put this reel together. So it's really something. If you're interested, you can email me. I'll send you a link. It's not something I'm putting out on my regular channel because it's not on brand. It's more me than it's not. It's me, not YouTube me. Just two different things. Here we like to entertain and have fun and joke. I'm very serious professional, boys. Very serious. I could show you guys that if you wanted. That's available by link only, though. It's also on my LinkedIn page if you're interested. Yeah, so over there you can check that out. So what we're going to do today, and you guys can comment, put your comments in the chat, load it up, and we'll talk about those in a bit. We're going to go until Mrs. Director gets home, and then we'll call it. But I'm going to talk about a couple of things. Now, in the comments below this video, in the the information section, there's a link to a concert in there I put on this week's episode. And the concert I linked to was Fire Aid because I want to talk about that concert because I watched a lot of it. It's a 6-hour concert that was put on about I think it was like Wednesday or Thursday last week for the benefit to go to helping fire victims and first responders and stuff like that. And I watched this show, and I came away with a lot to say about it, and I thought I'd share my thoughts with you. The first one is I want to talk about Pink, because Pink really, for me, stole the show. And you can watch this when we're done, because I put the link right down there. You can go to it and check out these performances, just zip through. I thought Pink positively stole that show with a 3-song set. She did What About Us, which was she did an acoustic version of that. Her version of Me and Bobby McGee was the best I've heard since Janis Joplin's. And she riffed on Janet's version of it, but I thought it was amazing. The only thing I would have liked them to do is, like, on the back end, just as they rolled up, the rest of the band should have joined in. They should have taken it up, but you know, that's niggles for a phenomenal performance. And then she did a version of Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, and that's the Zeppelin version, and goodness me, that place was on fire. It was goosebumps from beginning to end. And that to me was the performance of the night. It was so far above what everybody else did, but I'll talk about some of the others too. Andrew Pack, I know he's an R&B artist, hip hop artist. And he did a collab last year with Bruno Mars. It was called Silk Sonic. Maybe it was 2 years ago. I think it was last year. But he's half of that Silk Sonic thing, and everybody knows Bruno, obviously. But Andrew is the up-and-comer, and he's worked with Dr. Dre for years. Dr. Dre produced him. And he did a set where Dr. Dre actually came out and did some rapping too. That was a fire set. It was unbelievable. Sheila E. was playing percussion on that. And she is just fantastic still. She's in her 60s now. All these folks are getting older. We're going to talk about the older people too, because boy, did they disappoint. Oh my God. There were some heinous performances. We'll talk about those too, because it's fun to rip on things. But I thought that was the second best event of the day. I thought it was just electric. He's a drummer. He can sing. He can do all sorts of stuff. He was entertaining. He was moving. His backup dancers were in perfect time. It was a show. It was just gorgeous. It was really amazing to watch. And he came up, I think he was the third act. On the day. The first one was Green Day. Green Day was disappointing. Billy Joe sounded off key. I think people were having problems with their in-ears. You know, they all wear they have their ears in during the concerts. It's giving them a click track and whatever. I think the balance or something was out, because I saw performer after performer midway through their song rip their in-ears out. It happened a number of times. Lady Gaga did it right on camera too. It was distracting them, and it was throwing them off, because there were a lot of performers that were out of key, and it was pretty brutal. And that, I am assuming, is production. There was a production problem. Olivia Rodrigo, she had the most concert. It felt like we were at one of her concerts. And I think she's a wonderful young performer. You know, she does the personal sort of song. Cheers, everybody. It's Wednesday. She does the more of a Taylor Swifty style, with her own turn on it. And they all work in that Billie Eilish low-key thing, which I think is, that's a trend. That's a fad that will not go away soon enough. I think that I'm just over it. I want to hear people sing. I don't want to hear people mumble into the microphone, because that's how everybody's singing now. They're getting super up close to the microphone, and then they're whispering their song into the microphone on a low. It's crazy. It's like it's just bad performance. It's not exciting, and I want to see that die. I thought the Black Crowes, the band sounded good. But Chris Robinson isn't the singer that he once was. He's kind of devolved into this Mick Jagger style of shouting his lyrics in instead of singing them anymore. I don't think it works for him like it works for Mick. It's not... it's not as it just doesn't come off well. When he's singing Remedy, which is a beautiful song, Remedy's a good song, Sting, all those songs, but he was sang Remedy that night, and he's just shouting the lyrics into the microphone and like jerking his head around and stuff, and it's very staccato, and it's like it just doesn't sound good. It's just not, he's not opening his voice up, and he's not holding notes, and that's a shame. However, Slash did come out, and they did Going to California. And other than the vocal, it was beautiful. The play between I forgot Chris's brother, his name, but he and Slash did a duet on guitar. We're both playing. Why do you think of Robinson's brother? Chris is the lead singer, and then I don't remember. Anyway, somebody put it in the chat if you can remember who Chris Robinson's brother is. It's another Robinson, I know. I just forgot his name. It's the live thing. You know, you get live out there, staring at lights, and they're like, I can't remember shit. But he played wonderfully. He was playing a 12-string, and Slash was playing a 6-string. And it was amazing. They were rehearsed. They sounded gorgeous together. It was really pretty. They did a beautiful rendition of that. That was good. There was a punk set. It was all Nirvana songs, and Dave Grohl played drums, and that was fine. I thought that it got a little shot. Rich Robertson, thank you. Jesus, how could I forget Rich? Thanks, JTB. The punk set, it was really uneven, and it was nice. I liked seeing Joan Jett. I mean, that's always an exciting thing. She's in her 70s now, and I think, but it was okay. It was just okay. It didn't carry the energy of, St. Vincent did a set, and they did a song, and then Joan Jett did a song. Somebody else did a song, and then Dave's little girl, his daughter, 17-year-old daughter, came out and did All Apologies, the slow number from Nirvana, from their second album, or from the third album. And it was nice, but she didn't have confidence. Like, I thought that she lacked some confidence. She was unsure of herself, and that is music that is it's half of it is attitude. You've got to just do it and just have, I didn't feel the song when she was singing it, even though she was, it was sweet. It was a nice moment because, Dave's playing with his little girl singing in front, but it just was, there was no feeling behind it. Like, I didn't feel it. But beyond those performances, it was a pretty sparse night. So now we're going to get into some of the real criticisms. I thought Katy Perry phoned in her set. It was uninspired. It was off key. She just moved around the stage and kind of was there. And I'm surprised because she's going on tour. You would think she would be better rehearsed and better with it. But I got to think that, number one, the IEMs, again, were probably part of the problem. Gaga ripped hers off, and her set was really soft. I didn't think much of it, but I was disappointed because Katy Perry can sometimes bring a lot of energy, like she did at the Super Bowl. She kind of does the crazy thing, and it's kind of fun. It's more fun than it is musical or anything, and it wasn't even fun. It was she's just singing the songs, and it wasn't like you got a moment to sing something like Roar to a crowd like that, and that's all there to help people. It could be a moment, and it just felt like she was singing the song, it was totally phoned in to me. Now we're going to talk about some of the old guys. 'Cause, oh my God, boys. If you get a chance to click that link and watch some of these performances, I cringed. Actually physically went, oh no. Stephen Stills and Graham Nash, the remaining two from Crosby, Stills and Nash. These are guys who sang together for 100 years. These guys have been singing together since 1966, Buffalo Springfield. Oh my God, they just can't sing anymore. Their voices are shredded. It's time to retire, guys. Can still play a nice guitar. He had a wonderful guitar sound, tone, and even, the fingering on, For What It's Worth, sounded, or Long Time Gone he was playing. It was so good. It was so good, but the vocals, oh my God, it hurt. It hurt just to watch it. I'm like, oh, it's time, guys. And they look old and they sound old. They look terrible. Earth, Wind, and Fire was just like, oh, guys, it's just time to wrap it. It's not. And then we get to Stevie Nicks. And it was fun to see Waddy up there playing. Waddy Wachtel was up there, her longtime guitarist. He's a session musician who I love. Played with Keith Richards and the Expensive Winos. He's done a million things. And just a lovely guy and a great guitarist. But Stevie Nicks' voice is gone. It's like she's croaking the songs out at this point. It's like it just sounded like she was half dead. Unbelievably bad performances. And then, and this is going to be controversial, but Joni Mitchell, and it was so sweet to see Joni Mitchell at the Newport Jazz Festival come out. I think it was Newport Jazz. She came out and she did that set, and she was with Brandi Carlile, and she hadn't sung in a long time, and it was really emotional. And she got through the songs, and she even played some guitar on another song. But she came out and she just did Clouds again at this Fire Aid. Now we're another year or two removed from when she came back. And she did it, and her voice is not it's even less strong than it was when she came back and did it at Newport. And compare those two performances. Yeah, it brought a lot of tears. There were a lot of moist eyes in the house during that song. But if you just listen to the performance, it's hard. It's hard to watch. It was really hard to watch. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad I didn't feel the emotion that everybody else was feeling. Let's talk about Green Day. I talked about them. I expected them to ignite the crowd. They didn't do much. And again, Billy Joe Tolliver just sounded flat. Just like he wasn't in tune. And I'm like, I've heard him sound really good. Red Hot Chili Peppers. Let's talk. Flea, it's Flea's trademark to come out in underwear and to jump around, and he had like a little harness on. That was about it, like a little satchel. But for the occasion, it was probably not the right thing to do. He came out later and he played at the end. I think it was with Stevie Wonder on Master Blaster, and he played bass, and he's a great bass. There's no question, musically great. But the songs were uninspired. They didn't sound great. It was disappointment after disappointment. I'm like, oh my God, these old bands are sounding old to me, like really old to me, for the first time. And I'm 57, but they don't sound good anymore. These guys aren't sounding good anymore. Billie Eilish's set was a snooze. She came out and, it's one thing when you sing like this and you're just mumbling through the lyrics into the microphone this close, and then you're doing it with an acoustic backing instead of the electronica that she kind of uses. It's like there's just no energy in it. There's no energy in it at all. It was just like I couldn't care less. I left that performance going, ugh, it's just forgettable. And then Alanis Morissette, she was the second act. She came out, and she's just kind of like a parody of herself at this point. It's like she did fine. There was nothing wrong with the performances, but it just felt like her. It's like watching Sheryl Crow play now. It's like there's a time when Sheryl Crow was interesting, and Alanis was edgy. And I didn't feel any of that edge. It was more like a mom coming out and doing a set. And, like it sings, it's nice. It's nice. I guess she's got one hand in her pocket still. Okay. But and Thank You she did Thank You. And that's a good song for that occasion. I don't know. It's just, I want to see more. You know, like if you're in that, you've got a big crowd there, bring it. And Green Day was on before. There was no excuse for singing like soft songs. I know it's a poignant occasion and you're trying to like tap into the emotion of it and whatever, but you can do it and really touch people and move them and lift them emotionally. Like Stevie Wonder did a fine set. I mean, but he's Stevie Wonder. He's always going to do what he does. And it was good. But so it was fun to watch Fire Aid, but because I really enjoy critiquing people. I thought I would be a critic someday, but I would want I just want better. I wanted better from it, and there were a lot of bad performances. And the old guard, it's time to retire, guys. It's just time. Your voices are gone. They're just not. You can't carry the tune like you used to. The excitement's gone. You know. So there you go. Now the other thing I want to talk about, and then we'll get into the chat, is the Grammys, because the Grammys were Sunday night. It's our field. We love music. We're all music fans. We're great big fans of music, and it's the spotlight on our industry. I get more geeked about Grammys. I always have. I've always been more geeked about the Grammys than about the Oscars or any of the Emmys or any of the award shows. I always loved the Grammys because it's always interesting to me, and I love music and I love talking about music, and the Grammys, you will usually bring out some pretty good performances, and this Grammys performance wise, the first half really didn't disappoint. There was a lot going on and it was really exciting. I thought some of the performances were just outstanding. I thought they were better. Some of the folks from Fire Aid came out and sang different things, and that were and they sounded great. They sounded much better. So whatever the sound issues were that were throwing people off at Fire Aid, they had fixed them for the Grammys, and they should, because the Grammys has probably 8 times the budget of Fire Aid. But I thought that the first half of it was really loaded and exciting, and then they got to kind of like, once they hit the Chris Martin and the obits, they do the in memoriam, and really I thought that point on it started, like, things started kind of getting a little wobbly. I didn't think that the Cynthia Erivo tribute to Quincy Jones played out well. I thought it felt kind of self-indulgent to me, the way she was playing with the songs, and I don't know, it really felt self-indulgent. I was like, this doesn't sound like you're giving a tribute to Quincy. It sounds like you're kind of grandstanding a little bit. It didn't work for me. A lot of that didn't work. It wasn't, and that disaster at the end with what's her name from England, the British singer, the Brat singer. She just terrible, just a terrible performance, and just a terrible. The concept could have worked, but the song didn't, and the execution didn't. It was. Holly's tearing up something. He's so upset over the performances at the Grammys. But then you get to the awards themselves, and I don't know, guys. These Grammy Awards are meaningless at this point. Like, I don't know if they've just diversified the Academy so much at the expense of anybody with common sense, or what's going on, because the award winners made no sense to me. Cowboy Carter, Beyonce's record, wins Best Country Album. Has anybody listened to the Beyonce album? Like, seriously listened to the whole album? Because there's like a couple of country-esque songs on it. The rest of it's hip-hop. So I'm like, how do you call that a country album? And then to call it the best country album, like Chris Stapleton's album wasn't a better country album? Really? It just seems like they voted for stuff, they gave awards for stuff that was expected, or stuff that was anticipated, or would have been, let's give it to them, they've won it. Cowboy Carter was okay, but and I didn't have a problem with it for Album of the Year because it was different. okay, I can see that. You know, Andre 3000 was up there with his flute album. He was also nominated, and I thought that was kind of cool. But I just thought that the awards themselves, the Beatles won for Best Rock Performance. I want you to think about this. The Beatles won for Best Rock Performance of last year. The song was half AI, right? We know this. The song was partially AI, and that's the Best Rock Performance, was Now and Then, which is not a good song. It needed a bridge. It was a throwaway track that Lennon threw out, and the guys got from you know the story about that one. The Beatles, when they did the anthology reunion back in '93, I think it was, they got 3 tracks from Yoko Ono that were cassette tapes that John had recorded as demos, just stuff he was noodling with. One was Free as a Bird, the other one was Real Love, and the third one was Now and Then. The first 2 they crafted with Jeff Lynne into workable songs that were actually pretty good. They weren't Beatles standard, but they were good songs. They worked. They were nice to listen to. I enjoy them. I could still listen to those songs today. Now and Then, the problem was the tape damage was so bad on Now and Then, the dropouts were so bad that they couldn't do much with it, and they had to scrub that. That was going to be the single, the one new song that was going to go on Anthology 3. You know, the first 2 records, the first one had Free as a Bird, Anthology 1, Anthology 2, and this is all like the outtakes. They included with the outtakes Real Love on the second one, and the third one was supposed to have Now and Then. But it didn't. It was just too rough. They just couldn't make it work. And through the use of AI, they were able to reconstruct John's vocals and kind of make it work. But it wasn't a very good song. It was clearly the worst of the 3 songs, and it was the least complete. And Paul took it upon himself to sort of co-write with somebody else. I don't remember who he was working with on this. Maybe it was Giles, but they took it upon themselves to sort of fill it in, and Ringo added his drums, and you know, it was fine. But it wasn't a very good song. It just wasn't very good, and that got Best Rock Performance. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to even say. You know, and it's just a nod because, oh, it's Paul McCartney, and let's just give Paul McCartney the award. And he's deserved everybody's respect. He's phenomenal. You know, he's probably the most talented musical artist of my lifetime, certainly. And, even more so than any of the other Beatles, the guy can play every instrument. He can write songs he's unbelievable, ear for hook and for melody, and he performs and he sings and all that. So, very few artists you could put up in his class. Prince, but Prince wasn't the songwriter that McCartney was. And, it's like, there are some great artists in our lifetime, but he was the complete package. And he still is. His voice isn't good anymore. And they couldn't get the quiver out of his voice in the performance. I mean, there's so much wrong with Now and Then as a song. And then it's just 2 verses, and they did what every other song today does. They omitted the bridge, which is the problem. Billy Joel, Turn the Lights Back On. I was talking about that when that song came out. It was beautiful. It's actually a really good song. It just needed a bridge. Like, Billy, you're the king you wrote the song, The Bridge. Right? Put a bridge in the song, and you've got a great song on your hands. But, he doesn't like writing anymore and whatever. But I don't know. That's getting sidetracked. I just thought that the awards themselves were pretty, and were pretty lame. I mean, the artist that won, I'm just like, really? It just didn't feel like. And I'm not even lobbying for like a Taylor Swift. I didn't think that album was very good either. But there were some exciting young artists. I thought that the best new artists were really exciting, and then they gave it to the pop girl, the one who wore the dunce cap that night. Like, what are you wearing it? Wearing a Princess Dunce cap. It's really something. So anyway, so that's my Grammy wrap up. And then the other thing I would note is that LL Cool J. Sorry, I've got camera. That's my camera. A little noise. LL Cool J was a much better host than Trevor Noah ever will be. He's just LL Cool J has just got it. He's more interesting to watch. And not that Trevor Noah's bad, you know, I enjoyed him on The Daily Show. I just don't think that, I thought he did an okay job, but I'm like, I don't think that he's LL Cool J. LL Cool J is much better. He's like, he's in with everything. He can be a part of things. It's like, he just cut back to old Trevor Noah and he's like doing his thing. Like, I don't know. Just didn't. I would love to see LL Cool J come back to the Grammys. But he's no longer a CBS entity because NCIS LA is gone, so they have no reason to book him to do it. So there you go. All right, let's get to the chat, and then we're gonna do a viewer system, and then we'll get off the air today. I'm excited for you guys to see the new episode. I'm glad that I got a chance to finally take some time and record it. I had just finished that reel that I had done. Again, you can email me or just go over to my LinkedIn and you can see what I've been working on for the last week. It's a lot of work for 4 minutes. It's like, whoa, it's a lot there. So anyway, that's so when I got that done, I was like, okay, well now I have a good excuse to spend some time doing an episode. And so I shot yesterday, and I pieced it together part of today and last night, and now I've got to go through. I got to do the audio and the B-roll, and then we'll have that out to you. Probably be out next week, I would think. But at least it's in production, because I was having a hard time. There's a lot of reasons. I think some of it was emotional. Me wanting to sit down and do a show again. There's a lot going on. A lot going on up here, guys. It's and none of it's bad. It's just like I've got a lot of there's a lot of consideration going on in my world right now because I'm not working. I'm out of work. I'm trying to get a job, and we're really pushing hard, and there's potential move on the way. It's just a lot going on. So an episode is like not at the foremost of my concerns at the moment. So, but I do want to feed YouTube and keep you guys involved and give you a reason to keep coming back here beyond this lovely live stream that we all gather around the fire every week. Cheeky Fest is here. Ken Workshop, hope I'm well, and he's listening in the background while working. A little email exchange with Ken this week. Hipster Cow, howdy gents. Got the LCD-4. I almost wore the LCD-4 in your honor today, Hipster. I almost want to. I almost went that way, but I'm like, well, maybe we'll do it next week. Give you something to look forward to. Seeing the LCD on the YouTubes. Cheeky Fest. What do you use to edit? I use Resolve. I was an Avid editor. Avid Media Composer was my editing platform for many years. Since 91 to probably 2019, 2020, I was exclusively Avid Media Composer. That's all I worked on. And something happened in 2020. See, first of all, Avid is very expensive. They charge you an $800 license per year just for the software license. Then you have to put your plugins in, which are your effects packages. And all the companies charge more for their Avid plugins than they charge for the other platforms, Premiere and Final Cut Pro, all that stuff. The technical name is OFX versus AVX. The AVX plugins are always more expensive for a couple reasons. They know that people who use Avid tend to have deeper pockets. They also know that it takes longer it takes more work for them to encode, and they're only encoding for one platform. OFX covers a lot of different platforms at once. So there's more in it for them to be able to do an AVX plugin. So anyway, everything's more expensive about Avid, and they did something really kind of jank. In 2019, they redesigned the interface, the Avid interface, and it was long overdue. They needed to do it. It was important, but they also took away shortcuts. Some of my shortcuts, the stuff that I have, when you've been working on one platform for so long and you customize your keyboard the way you want it, and it's working, it works exactly the same way. On anytime I took a gig in on another edit suite, I would come in with a hard drive or a thumb drive, and it would have my settings on it, and I could just port my settings in, and my keyboard, everything, the monitors, they all go in the same place. Everything is the way I'm used to editing, and that's important when speed is a consideration. You want you want everything in the same place so that you can find it quickly. And they removed some key shortcuts, my ability to map some key shortcuts that I have relied on for years, and they're just gone now. So I'm like, so now it's like I'm going to have to learn a whole new keyboard, a whole new interface. And I'm like, then I'm going to open the field up, because if I've got to learn something new, I might as well learn something that I want to learn. So I looked at everything that was out there. I looked at Premiere. Premiere is probably the second most used editing platform, maybe Final Cut. But I wound up going with DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve is exciting because all of the program, first of all, it's cheap. You pay, I think it's $300 for a license or something, and it's a lifetime license. You pay once, you're done. There's none of this annual subscription crap. I pay $50 a month to Adobe just so I can use After Effects on this show. And then I also use Photoshop and some of the other stuff too. But $50 a month automatically goes to Adobe every month. It will until I'm dead, because I can't do my job without Adobe Creative Suite, right? And that includes Premiere. So I could probably just switch over to Premiere and I'd be fine. But Resolve is the fastest developing platform. It's the most responsive to its users, in that if something doesn't work right, they are lightning fast to patch it. They are continually adding features to it, and it's an all-in-one package. In Resolve, you can screen, you can edit, you can color correct, you can mix, and you can do visual effects and output it all within one application. It's just separate pages. Click to the next page. And there are pages that I don't even use, and I've disabled them, which is crazy, because you see my results. Like, that doesn't look like Resolve. Well, it is. I've just tweaked it to my liking, which is, I do everything on the edit page, which is not how Resolve wants you to do it. They want you to use the cut page and then use the edit page and then, all that. But I do it my way, because it's how I'm comfortable. And I just love the editing platform. I've grown to really enjoy it, and I could go back to Avid. It's just going to be a lot of stuff. Why bother when I've got this platform that's exciting, and I'm always getting new features on it every single release, and they do a release about every month or two. About every 2 months, you'll get a new update with a whole slew of new features, a whole little, tweaking some things that weren't working well, just they're making leaps and bounds over the rest of the industry, and I like being in a platform that's evolving. And Avid is the slowest evolving platform out there, so I wound up switching. So that's my long answer to that very short question. I use DaVinci Resolve to cut the show. I've been doing that since episode 1. I decided that I was going to force myself to use it and force myself to learn it. And that's where it goes. Yeah, Pink's Led Zeppelin. Absolutely, Gene. You're on the same page with me. I thought it was fabulous. Fantastic. And again, that whole concert is in the link below, down here, below my video face here. You can go watch that. It's a 6-hour concert. I would just skip through it and check out, spot check it. You'll see what I mean, and I hope you'll agree with me, because it was really, some of it was great, and then there were just like some really rough spots. It was really, really bad. Hipster Cow, did you see my email? Oh, we're going into lots of stuff. Hipster Cow, there's a mod house on the way, I sense. Sajjan, he's awesome, man. The JTB says if the Grammys were held in his backyard, he wouldn't even come out of the house. he would invite the girl with Kanye to sit in on the couch, though. Okay, he's referring to, if you Google Kanye West red carpet Grammys, his girlfriend, his girlfriend showed up basically with a completely see-through little frock over herself, and she was basically completely nude on the red carpet, and I'm shocked that they even let her on. I'm surprised that they didn't turn her away. Grammys are a little more forgiving. Remember, that was the same place that Lady Gaga showed up in a meat costume one year, and another costume showed up in an egg. It's like something. Thanks for the Robinson help, JTB. Nephilim says, hey, Nephilim, I was listening to Utopia today. I actually pulled him out. I was like checking out the old Tog Rudger group, and it's so good. Such good stuff. Really exciting. But yes, I just wanted to point that out because Nephilim's been talking up Utopia for a few weeks. Hey guys, he's happy to have made it in. Been sick all week with a monster fever. Hope you didn't have COVID. Love to all. Well, I'm glad you could make it, Nephilim, and I hope we brighten up your little afternoon for as long as we're here. JTB, try some rock and rye whiskey. Old school remedies work the best. Ah, yes. This is and if it doesn't cure your cold, you'll at least feel loopy enough to not care about it anymore. If that doesn't move to leeches and balancing the humors. Oh my God, that's awesome. I like where this is going, guys. Coconut water and bad music. Yeah, that'll work. It's almost shocking, JTB says, now when a singer's voice from years ago does not shot when singing live. Rob Halford from Judas Priest is a freak of nature and can still sing. Yeah, there are a few out there that have impressed me, and I'm surprised. I gotta look up his name. I'm drawing a blank. And then we're going to get to Gene's photo in a second. Anthony Kiedis from Red Hot Chili Peppers. I've heard him sing, like last year I saw a live concert on YouTube and I thought it was really good. I thought, wow, this guy really still has his chops. It was not apparent at this Fire Aid concert. It was terrible. He was nowhere near good. And then again, Flea with the underwear on stage. I'm like, Flea, you got to put some clothes on when it's a charity thing, you know. That's just, you know, being a person. There's a way to be a person. But there are a few people that I think still have decent voices. I mean, but some of them never, like Sheryl Crow can still sing, but I never considered her to have a great voice to begin with. It's a very thin, reedy sounding voice. So, like, you know, and Zeppelin, you know, Robert Plant hasn't had a good voice since 1974. In 73, they went on it was like their 8th tour of the States in like 3 years. I mean, it was bananas. And the tours were a lot shorter back then. They didn't do the Taylor Swift year-long tour. They would go in for a number of weeks and hit a bunch of cities and then come out. But it was a lot of night after night singing, and he strained his vocal cords, and he had to get an operation. And if you listen to Zeppelin's albums in order, the first 3, he's got his best vocals. 4th one is starting to break a little bit. Still a good vocal album. Houses of the Holy, his voice starts falling apart. He can't hit the notes. By Physical Graffiti, that voice is shot. When you listen to Presence, he does very little in the upper registers at all. And In Through the Outdoor is a completely like low, he's got his mature adult voice in that. And it's, and he's never, you know, he just shot his voice out. And he had to have some operation, I think, from 73 to 74. It was Zeppelin 4 that really, it was after Zeppelin 4 where I think he had the operation and his voice was never the same. So if you listen to Led Zeppelin live, and for example, if you listen to How the West Was Won, the live album, Plant's got a much better voice than he did when they recorded Song Remains the Same. Song Remains the Same. If you listen to his high notes, he's not going for them anymore. That was post-operation. His voice was not good anymore. So a lot of people take issue when I say that Song Remains the Same isn't a very good live album. I think, number one, it's not recorded very well. It's very thin. It's a thin-sounding record. And secondly, Plant's voice is gone. It's just not there anymore. Relative. Still can, it's still exciting to listen to the music. I mean, it's Stairway to Heaven live and all that stuff, but his voice just was never the same. His voice was never the same after he had the operation. He got like a polyp or something on his lymph node, on his vocal cord, and they had to remove it surgically, and it just wrecked. His voice was just never, he couldn't hit the high notes anymore. And we've seen that time and again with singers. You get to a point where you just can't hit those high notes anymore. Your vocal cords aren't as elastic and vibrant as they were when they were younger. It's just part of aging. Your voice, my voice today is nowhere near the lush tones that came across in my 30s. But yeah, it just happens. Aerosmith. I thought that Steven Tyler. Even when he came back, they had their first run of albums up through Toys in the Attic, which is a phenomenal album. I mean, one of the best albums of all time, Toys in the Attic by Aerosmith. Then they had a break. They were all into drugs. I mean, there were a lot of drug problems were floating around. What wasn't in the 70s, right? And they broke up they split, and then they got back together, and I think it was 84 or 85, and they did an album called Done with Mirrors, and you can hear that Tyler's voice can't hit the high notes anymore. I think when they did their big comeback, the one that hit, which was Permanent Vacation back in 86, I think it was 87, Permanent Vacation was a commercial success. Done with Mirrors was a terrible flop. Just a note to people, if you're going to put out a comeback album, it was a very Spinal Tap thing they did. All of the print on the record is in reverse. It's Done with Mirrors. So if you held it up to a mirrors, you see Aerosmith, Done with Mirrors. If you looked at the record, it looks like gibberish because it's all printed backwards. And they did something that was so unrecognizable, it was dumb. There's no Aerosmith logo on it, nothing, so it was a mess. It was a hot mess. It was a good album. Actually, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Done with Mirrors. Go listen to that sometime if you want. It's not in the upper echelon of Aerosmith's best work, but it is a very good record. So was Pump and Permanent Vacation. I thought all three of those were great. And then they started the era where they were just trying to get out of their contract, and they started throwing out junk albums just to fulfill their contract obligation. So they had Get a Grip, which was a terrible record. It was just god awful. But it was, if you know anything about Aerosmith, they were stuck in a bad deal with Warner, I think it was, and they just were putting out albums to get out of the contract, to get out of the deal. But it was really something. It was quite an era for them. But Tyler's voice, I think when they did Permanent Vacation, I think they were speeding him up then. I think they had him sing slower at a lower key, and then they were running the track faster. Now they can just lift the voice. It's very easy to do digitally. Literally, I can change my voice. I should do that sometime on the show, just as a fun gag. But you can do anything digitally now with vocals, and they could have just said, "Oh, bring him up to this note," and it sounds like he's hitting that note that he could hit. He can't come close to those high notes from Dream On today. He just can't. And then, of course, in the last couple of years, he's had serious vocal problems, and that's why they broke the band up. They're no longer playing together. Anyway, there you go. Michael, totally agree. Some bands got to know when to stop and understand age can affect performance. All those bands you mentioned, 100% agree, they got to stop. I couldn't agree more, Nephilim. I just think it's time. Crosby had the best voice of the three in Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and we lost him. David's passed away a couple years ago. And without him, he was the glue of the harmony. No, he was the arranger of the harmonies. He had the ear that put that band together. Stills was the songwriter. Stills was the guitarist. But the vocal and the arrangement and the layering that they did, that all came from David Crosby. He's a genius. He was an absolute genius when it comes to songs and arranging and harmonies. And you can tell, I mean, they all went to David for stuff. He collabed with everybody over the years. So they have the two worst two singers of Crosby, Stills, and Nash were left, and they didn't have the person who kind of held them together, and it showed. And beyond that, their voices are shot. I mean, they're just old men now. They're in their 70s and 80s. It's just hard. You just can't do it. Even McCartney, I have a love for the Beatles, and I love Paul McCartney, and there's everything. I went to the last concert tour he did. I saw him in 2018 at Dodger Stadium, the year before COVID hit. It was 2019, I don't know. But he played Dodger Stadium, and Ringo joined him at the end, and they did Helter Skelter. And his voice was rough. It was not in great shape. However, his pure presence and style and everything still could give you a chill. I mean, it was still something to see McCartney sing Hey Jude, and it was still something. Then I went and saw him at SoFi after the pandemic, and I thought it's time for him to wrap it up. It's just not good anymore. It's not fun to watch. It's like he's trying, and it's just not there. He still connects with the audience, and there's a nostalgic factor to being there. But if you're there to listen to a concert, McCartney can't sing anymore. It's unfortunate. It's just the way it is. The quiver in his voice has just gotten so dramatic, and it's so bad. It doesn't sound good, and he's got to know it. I mean, he's got to know it. He's got a perfect ear. And it's got to be tough for him to try and do something, and he can't physically do it anymore. Like my shoulder was a while ago. It's getting better though, boys. I've been working out. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Like the song "The Gambler," got to know when to fold 'em and know when to hold 'em. I know, and Kenny Rogers was a guy who sang pretty well into his later years, but he never had any challenging. He sang his speaking voice very much. He had a beautiful tone, though. It was great. Was it Ray? No, it was it Charlie XCX? I think it was Charlie XCX. That was the last performer, who was just unbelievably bad. It was, who cares? AI, it was really just throwaway. I'm like, it was a clown show. It was terrible. She's running all over the place. She's not hardly wearing any clothes. It's like you're just trying to shock people. It's not a performance. It's not like anything good. It's one thing if you're singing like Lady Gaga and doing that. It's another thing if you're singing like Charlie XCX and doing that. It just wasn't good. It was like, ugh, what a terrible way to end the Grammys. Because she was the last performer of the night. It was not good. AI wins again. See, Grammys will always honor the best. You know what the best is. I know, and I'm like, these are the people that have been fighting against AI, and they've been raising holy hell about AI, and they award the record, they give an award to the song that, sorry, Holly's about to walk in. They give an award to a song that was like half AI created. Come on, I mean, give it a production award maybe for pulling it off, because it's kind of a feat. But God, it's not the record. It's not even close to the rock performance of the year. And how do you even call it a performance? It's AI, All right. People can't write anymore. Well, I think that there's a style. Music evolves. It's a living, breathing thing. Music evolves as time goes on. And we've hit some stumbles in more recent years, I think. Some sloppy habits, and I think music is less interesting today than it was 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Certainly less interesting than it was 40 years ago. If you look at the diversity of songs on the charts, I had that one live stream where I read through the top 100 of like a song from a year, or from a list from a year, and I'm like, oh my God, just look at the diversity in this. You've got country music and instrumentals and disco and rock and, all these different genres, and they're all great songs. They're all interesting songs, well written, well crafted, and boy, you get to today and it's like, I don't know, Kendrick Lamar? Okay. I mean, hip hop is exciting, and there's nothing wrong with hip hop as a genre. I enjoy hip hop. Like I said, I was listening to that Anthony Pack, and I would encourage all of you to go check out that album. Go check out Malibu. Go check out some of his records. If you want to hear some interesting, well done, kind of vibey hip hop, it's pretty good. I enjoy. I think this guy's got a lot of talent. And it was fun. I was checking him out this week because I was so blown away by that Fire Aid performance. I wanted to hear more from him. And then I found out that he was in Silk Sonic. He was part of the Bruno Mars album from a couple years ago. I'm like, oh, okay. He was the other half of that. I didn't know that. And learning that stuff. But I think it's part sloppy. I think it's part lazy. I think it's part what sells. This stuff without bridges sells now. It's what people want. They want quick songs that have a little catchy thing, but boy, it's just verse, chorus, verse, out. That's it. That's all you get now. That's all anybody does. A, B, chorus, A. Oh, okay. That's it. That's a song. It's interesting. We're going through a time. I think it'll come back around. I think people will go back to the older style of recording, of writing songs. It could be good. I think it always comes around. Ray doesn't do anything for me. She's another list in a long list of I don't care about them, performers from today. And like I said, there's so many of them now that are doing this mumbling up close on the microphone. And it's all this whole branch of music. And I've said this time and time again, this all came out of Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse reinvented what a pop female singer should be. And she informed Adele, she informed Billie Eilish, she informed all of these generations of the entire next generation of singers came out of Amy Winehouse. People don't someday. People revere Amy Winehouse as great and everything, but I don't think musically we appreciated what she did. I think she is going to go down like Billie Holiday as one of the great female singers in human history, because she tapped into something, and the sad part is she never got a chance to. We never got a chance to hear where she took it, because she only did 2 records, and the third one is a compilation. So. Frank was underproduced because she didn't have a contract. It was her first contract, so it was terribly underproduced. It's a good record. It's exciting to hear her sing that. It was such a unique sound. And then she did a very Motown homage album that is phenomenal, a world-class record, but it's in a specific lane. And I think that she had so much more to deliver. I thought there was so much more she could give us. It's just unfortunate that drugs and alcohol just took her from us at 27. She's a 27 clubber. And we never got to it. We never got to her best work. We got great work from her, but we never even got to her best work. Her best work was ahead of her, That's the shame of Amy Winehouse. But her singing, watch interviews with Adele. She'll tell you. She owes her career to Amy Winehouse. And then the next round, we're coming out of the Adele package, and that's where we get Billie Eilish and all these other singers. Olivia Rodrigo. They're all in the same lane. They're all doing the same thing, but it all comes from that place of sorry, I got a text come in. I don't even want to read it. I just want to mute it. The Apple Store. I got a new case for my iPhone because it cracked finally after a couple years. Yeah, it's just, and the songwriting, has gone along with it. So I think there will be original artists, and there will be somebody who comes along that truly excites us again, that takes music into a new area. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we know who that person is. Taylor Swift sings lovely songs, and they're very personal, and it's a very wonderful style, and it connects with people. And you got to admire any woman who can build a multi-billion-dollar business on her own from just her raw talent. Oh, hats off to her. Hats off to her. It's not all for me. I mean, there's some stuff that I like of hers, but there's also stuff that I'm like, it's okay. But and I particularly like the Evermore record because it was so stripped down, and it was kind of more like, I felt like we were getting a look at who she really was, more so than some of the other records, which were more, of a pop lane or a country lane or whatever it was. Folklore, sorry, not Evermore was the follow-up, but it wasn't as good. But I thought that, anyway, so that's just music. We're just talking music today. It's a music day. It's kind of fun. I love talking music, guys. I could talk music forever. You probably can't because the chat's not as full as it normally is. Ray doesn't do anything for me. Yeah, I mean, they all get kind of lumped together for me in that thing. Timothy Egan says the Gambler was Kenny Rogers, not Ray Charles. Correct. Did somebody say otherwise? Did I say Ray Charles? Did I say Ray Charles? Did I really say Ray Charles? Goodness me, that was a mistake. Well, Ray was a great singer. I mean, Ray has a classic voice, and he carried his tunes into his older age too. I mean, he could play. I saw Ray Charles play in Chicago at our open band shell, outdoor band shell in downtown Chicago, and he was unbelievable. He was unbelievable. He was so good, so polished. I have the playbill for that somewhere around here. I think it's in storage right now. I was up in my old studio, but back at the old place, the Ray Charles poster. It was like one of the old-fashioned rainbow posters that they used to print up in mass when there's a Blues Brothers version of it in Blues Brothers, if you remember. But I have a Ray Charles version of that from when he played Grant Park, because I saw the concert. I was there. It was great. It's just great. Oh, he could play piano still. He could sing, hit the notes. Some bands don't leave on a high note because they can't even hit one. Yeah, I know. Well, the voice is a tough thing, There comes you have a lifespan on your vocals when you can do amazing things with them, and there seems to come a time. We were talking about this a few weeks ago too. Even creatively, why is it that most of these bands, you look at the great bands of our lifetime, the Zeppelins and the Who and the Beatles and the Stones and the Pink Floyd. Yeah, the Pink Floyd. Yes. Somebody's mentioned John Anderson down there. Yes. Most of their great work came before they were 30. And I think there's a thing behind that. I think there's a reason behind that. I think there's something cognitive behind it. Gosh, I just put a zip tie together, and I shouldn't have. To break it. I think that there's something like you're more open. Maybe you're doing more drugs or something, but you're also open to more creativity when you're younger. Once you get past 30, it's like your brain has established lanes, and that ability to do something truly original diminishes. You start doing imitative stuff instead of stuff that's breaking new ground, going to new, exploring new places. There are exceptions. There's always going to be exceptions, but it's. I think that there's something to that. A younger mind has more ability to do interesting things. I was just listening to the Fratellis today. Fratellis, I don't know if you know this band, but they had a huge hit, helped by the sales of the iPod, because it was one of the iPod songs. They used Apple used one of the songs, and it gave them a lift. But if you listen to, there's an album they came out with, Costello Music, and it was revolutionary at the time. It was fantastic. And there's all kinds of reasons behind. I've done a lot of listening to Costello Music over the years because I just love the record. I think it's brilliant on so many levels. It's edgy, it's dangerous, it's the lyrics are dangerous, and some of them are just silly, but there's so much at risk on that record. And they just this guy, John Fratelli, it's a fake name. I mean, they all have fake names, but he's a guy who did daring things like put 2 great hooks in one song. Most guys are, they think of you work in your creativity and you come up with a great hook, a great melody, a great, something, and you want to feature that. So you write a song around this great hook. Satisfaction. And that becomes the song. This guy would take 2 separate great hooks, 2 great musical ideas, and smash them together into a song to make a super song. And if you like, there's songs on that record, and he did this for the first 2 records. There are songs that he mated that I'm like, oh my God, he could have split those apart and had 2 massive hits out of them. And he put them together because it's just what he wanted to do. It's just what he wanted to do. And if you listen to that record, Costello Music, and even the next one, next one got panned big time, but it was pretty good. After that, the group sort of took a little time out after the second record because it didn't sell terribly well, and they split apart. When they came back together, like none of the music that came later, and I still listen to it because I just enjoy the band. There's a nostalgia factor to the aughts, but none of the records that came later on after they got back together were nearly as good as the first 2 records. Those first 2 records, the first one in particular, is so stellar. And part of it too is they were working with a producer, and I don't think they ever got the producer back, but the producer they were working with on the first record did all kinds of interesting things. He was playing with instrumentation, so there's little sections of songs where suddenly a mandolin comes in for no apparent reason, just to play along with what's going on with the music. And then doubling the bass line, they would use a bass saxophone. And I'm like, so you've got this really cool sound of bump, 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 and down below there's coming out of a horn, and it melds together to the rhythm section. The horns make. Oh, Gene, real quick before you go, let's just take a look at Gene's system. I'm sorry you got a dip, buddy. Here's we're gonna go to this real quick and then we'll wrap the show up. But talking music today. Sorry I got sidetracked. But this is Gene's system. Gene sent it in to us, and I'm super excited about this. This is look at this system. This is like crazy. This is what idle time in this hobby can result in, and it's delicious. It's just delicious. So I'm going to walk through because he sent me notes on everything that's in here. Some of the stuff I know, but more of it I don't because I don't know all of this gear. But let me find. Here he is. Here's his stuff. Okay, so let's go up to the headphones first. We'll get to this stuff. Okay. So up here you've got a ZMF Atrium, which is the headphone that I started this show with today. I love the Atrium. I think it's brilliant. And then you've got a HiFiman Shangri-La. That is the electrostatic HiFiman. How great is that? And then the Caldera Closed. And that's probably that's my favorite headphone on this day. It's not from a sound point, but from a look standpoint. Look at the finish that's on the. You can't tell that's glossy. That is gorgeous. That's one of the prettiest designed Caldera Closed I've seen. Moving down, you've got a Sesfara, clearly. That's going to be a standard, or it's a must-have, right? And then you've got the Imanis from Raoul, so it's another beautiful $10,000 headphone. And then the Abyss 1266 with all its bass glory sitting there. I so far, I mean, that's just the headphones, guys. And so it's six stellar headphones. I mean, just to die for headphones, right? And then we're going to work down here, and we're going to get to some of the equipment. And you can see he's got the Halame, got a power supply down there. Halame, just, so good. So good, right? He's got a Hatter audio input output. This allows him to this is basically a routing switcher, so he can play any signal to any source, and any output source. So if he wants to throw a signal to one of his other amps, this is the device that does that, right? Then he's got the Zale HM1. This is the actual Director's Garage version of that. He bought that from me when I sold it. And then on top of that, now this is, I have to look this one up. This is the Ultrasonic Studios Telemachus. It's a 300B amplifier, and he's got Elrog 300B tubes in this. Very cool. Very cool. I have not heard this amp. I have no idea what it sounds like. CFA3 is above that. That's a great solid state amplifier. That's a Kevin Gilmore designed, and it was put together by somebody else. It's not from Headamp, but Headamp has a version of this amp coming out very shortly. And then up top, he's got the Exonic T2 tube electrostatic amplifier, just to top things off. And then up top he's got the DNA, this Donald North Solaris. This is a tube amp. Just what a great system, what a phenomenal system. And then we'll look over here. He's got the big monitor for his Rune setup. It's a dual monitor that he's got them stacked up, and then the camera in the middle for doing live streams and stuff. But how awesome is this rig? I am so thrilled to get this one in here today. What a great system from Gene. He's a Patreoner. He shows up every Patreon episode and adds so much to the conversation. He is our resident Grateful Dead expert, and he's got a lot of great headphones to listen to all the Grateful Dead music in. Wouldn't you say? Oh, so good. Gene, thank you so much for sending in that gorgeous system of yours. And I want you guys, if you can, send your systems in to me, to Director's Garage. We do nothing more than compliment and just take a great look at the incredible systems that folks have. And check it out. I think Mrs. Director pulled in, so I'm going to start wrapping this one up real quick. But yes, Hipster Cow, isn't that amazing? Isn't that a great system? Phenomenal system. Gene screens, yes, absolutely. 6 headphones. How many amps? I think there's 4 amps here. 5 amps here. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 5 amps. Just an amazing system. Amazing system, man. You gotta have the admiration out for our friend Gene. Again, he's part of the Patreon folks. So homework assignments for you guys. Go watch the Fire Aid video that's linked below. You guys can do that and check that out, and give me your thoughts next week. We'll talk about it some more if you want. Tell me your thoughts on that. And you can also go over to my LinkedIn page and you can see the video that I was working on for the last 2 weeks. And then aside from that, you can also email me and I'll send you a link to that if you wanted to. Same email, just same thing. But that's going to wrap it up for me today. I'm going to get back to editing the episode probably tonight, and we'll make some more progress on that. I want to thank you guys for stopping by the garage today. Tip your waiters and waitresses on the way out. That's hit the thumbs up button. That's how we do that around here. And I'm going to see you guys before you know it. Thanks so much for coming out today. It's going to be great. Have a great rest of your week, too. And I hope I'll have good news on the job front coming in the next couple of days. We'll see. We're hoping, fellas. All right, I got to get out of here. I got to bolt. See ya.